The images that you are about to see may be of some alarm to you, especially when you see the stark contrast of life in the severely marginalized, oppressed living areas of the resort of the city of Mazatlan, Mexico, in the very shadow of the cruise ships that bring thousands of tourists weekly to the city and other ports along the Mexican Riviera. And juxtaposed beneath the very billboards of five-star resort hotels, pandering to the opulence of wealthy travelers, are some of the worst slums south of the U.S. border. The images are very emotional, and I hope that you will clearly hear God's loud voice speaking directly to your heart and your conscience as you observe the plight of these families who anxiously search, often in vain, for anything of value of some discarded trash item that might provide a meager few coins to help them survive. The cultural name given to these forlorn people is pepemodores. Entire families spend 12 to 14 hours a day dodging large machinery to scrounge through the almost valueless garbage for discarded material, clothing, or items that they sell to recyclers or that they might use in constructing their homes. I recall visual images of people ripping through just delivered garbage bags and sifting through rancid food and rubbish, hoping to find discarded items that they can bring to their families or trade to recyclers to avoid some long intervals without income. Several times each week, the Vineyard Church of Mazatlan intervenes in this chaos, bringing food, water, a handshake, a hug, and encouraging words to these eager recipients. As you can observe, many won't or can't stop long enough to receive the meal, fearing that they might not achieve their goals or that they might miss something of value.
I was curious about all of the young people who were working in the dump, and I asked one particular young woman who could easily have passed for a cheerleader or head girl at any school, and her family about why she chose to be here at the city dump working instead of in school.
I am 16 years old, and I did go to the school, but now no, because I have to work.
The children of these dump workers are left behind in their colonia during the day and are cared for by women who share the parenting duties for those who work nearby in the dump. The living conditions of the Urias colonia are some of the worst of all the poorest areas of the Mazatlan slums. In many cases, they have no latrines, no electricity, and no potable water. The heavy truck traffic to and from the dump stirs up clouds of dust, mixing it with exhaust fumes and the constant din and danger of passing vehicles. Children play in piles of broken rubble and miraculously run around their colonia without shoes, seemingly without incident or foot wounds. One of the better moments during their meager existence occurs when the Vineyard food bus arrives, bringing bottled water, fruit, and a meal. We were invited into a couple of homes and will share a bit of their lives with you. What their hopes are, their fears, their frustration of being in a class of people that is forgotten and neglected, the exception being the demonstration of grace by the Vineyard Church of Mazatlan. One family with 3 children, Lupe and her husband Jorge, faced the additional burden of their son Nathan, suffering from cerebral palsy.
Amid the debris of broken bottles, rusted metal, and living quarters shared with animals, I was amazed at the resiliency and hope that 2 mothers, Lydia and Lupe, had for their children and for their village. The pitiable environment was in disparity with the hopes of these 2 mothers as they spoke of the help they received from the Vineyard Church.
It is really important for us because the people sometimes have no money for food. We appreciate very much their help.
They fully trusted that the Vineyard Church would fulfill their undemanding hope.
We received a lot of help from the church, so we could trust in them. It is good because sometimes we haven't any food to eat, and it is good especially for the children.
I was stunned to learn that they believed that God knew them in this God-forsaken place.
I trust in God, and I think that He someday will give me a better life.
The families in these colonias suffer from a lack of privacy and security without doors and fences to protect their meager possessions. Their small living enclosures are filled with trash, recyclables, rotting food, and are closely shared with dogs, chickens, and donkeys, all sharing a small feces-riddled space. In spite of the seemingly desperate and meager existence, I was amazed at the resilience and perseverance of those whom we met and shared a meal and an encouraging word. The Vineyard Church has provided hope to these people in so many ways. The church has intervened when necessary to provide temporary schooling when interruptions occurred and has built churches in some of the colonias, providing an otherwise unavailable education to the children and a place to worship a God in whom they clearly trust. This school was recently begun in the village of Loma Bonitas.
We met a young woman, Aurelia. This saint of a woman talked about her love for these children who felt privileged to attend school, even though it was under a tarp strapped to the side of a Vineyard school bus. This young woman spoke of sharing Christ's love with the poor people of these colonias.
Ay, pues es que está Cristo en mi
Well,
corazón.
I could do this work because I had the love
bien
of
triste
Christ in my heart.
Ver que la
It
gente
is
no
really sad to see those people without hope and looking around you and see that everything is bad. We need Christ, and I think that we have to follow Christ to get a better life for us. I'm sure that God has something special for these people. That's why I'm working here.
The people of this colonia, after some 40 years in the colonia of Tres Palmas, were evicted at gunpoint in the middle of the night to this barren hillside to start a new colonia. We were amazed at their fortitude, their fierce will to survive, and their desire to have their children educated. Without the assistance of the vineyard, there would be no hope for the futures of the children.
Alicia was the perceived leader of Loma Bonita. She reiterated her thankfulness to the work of the Vineyard Church in her life, and for the work of the church providing the basic needs of food and water.
I thank God and the brothers of the church, and especially the American people of the Viña. I know them many years ago.
She spoke of the desperation of their experience without help from the vineyard.
I am really concerned about our future. I think that now we have water, but not so clean in the amount that we need. Because of the church, we have water, food.
At the previous colonia, the Vineyard Church was responsible for providing a school, saving the children from crossing a very dangerous highway.
Beginning in the other colonia, I remember when the church arrived and said to us, "Well, what do you need? Do you prefer a church or a school?" I said that it's better for us for the moment to have a school because too many people or children, especially children, was killed crossing the highway.
Yo quiero una escuela porque han matado muchos en la carretera, muchos niños.
For the past few minutes, you have peeked through a window into the lives of an abandoned and discarded people. Reaction might be one of amazement or outrage, but astonished by the strong spirit and will of the people. These, however, are the chosen ones of Jesus, the very people that Mother Teresa would embrace and give lavish love and care, the meek who shall inherit the earth. The Vineyard Church of Mazatlan has championed their cause. A significant portion of their financial resources are committed to the rescue of these abandoned people. The Vineyard Hispanic Church members have meager resources to assist in this great endeavor. And without a consistent year-long American and Canadian membership, the church is dependent on the financial support of vacation and church visitors and on American and Canadian retirees whom have chosen Mazatlan as a second home for part of a year. While you are here, we would like you to invest in our ministry. We entreat you to invest a portion of your vacation time to lend a hand, to pay a visit to these forsaken brothers and sisters, to bring them a meal, to meet their children, and to pay it forward. To bring the good news of Jesus Christ and his hope to someone who needs it more than anyone that you have ever met. Jesus has promised that when you do this very thing to the least of his kingdom, that you are doing it for him. He said, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me drink. I was a stranger and you welcomed me.